Hey guys, I'm Mrs. Jr. here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie Violent Night. If you end up enjoying this full review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition, the second and third to help without my Patreon and PayPal, fourth to my Discord server where you can join and collab with other YouTubers and share your content there. And showing will be reminded at the end of the review. With all that out of the way, let's get into Violent Night. Now, I've seen the trailer for this quite a bit, actually. So I was quite curious as to what they were doing. So let's get into the plot with all that out of the way. So we start off with Santa Claus in a bar with a fake Santa Claus, and the real Santa Claus is our main character, who's thinking about retiring the whole Christmas shtick. So after he's done drinking and going about complaining about what the kids want and how kids always want what's next, and being spoiled, I guess, he goes to the roof and he's gone, and the waitress sees him go on his little sleigh, and she gets vomited on for her curiosity. We then cut to a family, with Trudy being the daughter and two of the parents, and one of them is a really rich guy, and the other is like she's being introduced into this family. Is sort of the dynamic here, and I guess like there's some sort of like divorce process in motion, question mark. Seems to be like the indication prompted early on in this movie. And to get a little bit nostalgia, the little girl named Trudy watched the movie Home Alone, which is another like Christmas-esque type of movie, where of course we have a kid home alone, and he sets up a bunch of traps, for those who may not remember that movie. But the girl seems to mimic some of the things from that movie. So, as they head towards the household in this little rich area, we meet Bert, this teen who's constantly on his phone, Mike, and who's like this action star, and we have the sister of the main character, or the father character, and at least two of them seem to be in compromise with the grandma, who seems super aggressive, given a lot of the salty lines really early on here. So, as we cut back to Santa, he's doing his job and getting more drunk as he's doing it, and being a little bit lazy in the process because he's kind of getting tired and done with it. So we learn that Trudy herself didn't get to visit Santa Claus during the visiting hours, so the father promptly gives her a walkie-talkie, which she uses to commune as they try to listen into what she wants. And she says that she wants her parents to stick together and not get that divorce. Anyways, as we see Santa partake to this house, taking in the drinks, simultaneously as that's happening, we see a man attack one of the guards. So there's sort of this planned thing that we see a little hint at earlier in the film, with one of the guards like doing like a stopwatch sort of sequence. And one of the other guards cuts off the Wi-Fi so that the little teenager kid can't commune out to their estate building being attacked or stolen from. So we meet our leader, who calls himself Scrooge, but that's not his actual name, but for the sake of it, we'll just say he's Scrooge, because it's fun, I guess. And he kills the opening guard at the, gate entrance. And we cut back to the inside, seeing or hearing that Santa's hearing of the violence that's permeating throughout the house now. So they gather the family, these attackers. All the while, one of these guards, these bad guards, attacks Santa in the process, but Santa starts striking back. So he pulls himself out the window, and with the guard ends up dead on the ice, this ice shard. All the while, he's looking back into the window and can see the family, and he sees the young girl, Trudy, in that vicinity. So we see that the leader, Scrooge, did his little research on this household, as he puts it. After the grandma's saying, you're not gonna get away with this. So, after that, the rest of the team, the bad guy team, finds the dead guy. All the while, Santa takes out another guard somewhere else in the household with a doll. And some billiards, and get some pretty unique fighting here. As he lights up one of this other guy, or the same guy, I forget. But, nonetheless, he's on another walkie-talkie, and since he's also on a walkie-talkie, he can commune with the girl, Trudy. So he does so. And she warns Scrooge that they're not gonna have a real nice time if they keep messing around like this. And this is where the dad says that Santa isn't real. So she's a bit despondent to that, because she had been the one to have believed at this point. So we see that Santa is a bit injured as he reveals his tattooed chest. And we get a really brief cut back to him in this sort of Nordic-like setting, from what it looked like anyway. But we also hear him cut back to hear Trudy. So, he takes some time to talk with her, and improving, I know what you asked for, and stuff like that, to, reinforce, oh, you really did, despite what she was just told. So, she's like, oh, I'm back on the belief train, baby. And during this little speech, Santa Claus explains that he used to be a really bad guy during those Nordic times. Killer of sorts. But during this little escapade of explaining things, his location is exposed. So, Santa gets caught after getting his location exposed. So he's stuck. The leader is talking with him, who then proceeds to burn his gift bag, and he's really upset by that. Santa is. Santa promptly calls him by his real name. I think they call him Sam, the Scrooge guy, the leader. And he also points out to the girl and this other bad guy their names as well, and says hey, I know all of this stuff. So their belief is being brought up into question as he brings up all of these things about them. And since he got them to believe, I think this is how this works, he's able to magic himself up to the roof. Because earlier in the movie, at some point, he wasn't able to do this. So I guess it's a vicinity thing. It's not too clear how... He literally says it throughout the movie. I don't know how this magic shit works pretty consistently. Despite doing this for, how he puts it, several thousand years, or however many years from that Nordic time. Anyways, we learn that the extraction team that the grandma hired is on their way. Meanwhile, the action husband star runs out. but the extraction team get there and they kill him. So they're all, and Santa Claus is at the roof and he sees this and they get all added to the naughty list. So he's like, ah, shit. All the while, they open the vault. And Trudy's like, this isn't good. So she's trying to uplift Santa at this point. So she asks Santa that, like, what do you want? So he sees the gift, the hammer that he had asked for, which allows him to get back to the work that he used to do and take these men out. In this really, really dark scene, unfortunately, it's poorly lit. He does get pretty creative, killing one of them with a candy cane, or a few of them, I think, at least two. Meanwhile, we learn that from Scrooge that while he's still in the vault, all the money is gone. And as we learn, through the torture of, like, trying to force one of them to, like, the family to die, we learn that the main father was the one who was planning on stealing the money and had moved it somewhere else. So, all the while, they find Trudy's location. She's, like, in the attic currently. And so she does a little mini Home Alone setup, which is why they set that up in the dialogue earlier. So she does, like, the little needle, and above that she, like, cracked one of the staircases. The guy cuts off from the broken staircase and hits his neck through the little needle, or the hammer nail thing. And during this we see the woman who goes up above ends up killing him by sending more of them down. So Trudy, despite acting first in self-defense, it wasn't even her that did him in. It was technically this other woman. All the while, Trudy's desperate and says, like, you need to get here, Santa. So Santa just happens to arrive. I don't even know how he gets there, quite frankly. Because he was, like, outside last time we saw him, so he managed to get all the way up there in the attic. All the while, the family, the ones that are still in the main room being held hostage, which is the two wives in the situation and the teenager, and they're arguing at each other on who should die first, and they start arguing with each other, and the guy's like, come on, I'm kind of getting a bit tired of this, and when they find an opening, they attack the psycho guy that's been holding them hostage particularly. So Santa Claus meets up with the other family members, and they're not really sure as to, like, who this guy is, but because they don't believe, obviously. But we see that the mom, the main mom, shoots some of them down as Santa Claus gave her permission with a gun to defend the family. It's fine. There's no dialogue for it. It would have been, like, I don't know, I guess a little bit too obvious if he said, like, I'll keep you on the nice list, because it's self-defense or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, that doesn't happen, but anyway. So the family attack, the main couple attack, like, one of these guys that are left over, so it's not all Santa Claus doing all the work. However, he hijacks one of these snowmobiles as some of the guards are escaping, or, not guards, but, the thieves, as they get the money from the outside. So the wife gets her own kill with an ice shard. And Trudy, once outside, sees that her parents are getting all romantic with each other now that they're, together out there. So he's checking his list, and then he proceeds to fight some more. And he is left with the leader at the end of this little kerfuffle. And so he keeps using this guy's previous knowledge to get him to finally truly believe that this guy he's been fighting this entire time truly is Santa Claus. And once he has that, he does the sniffing of the nose trick where he pulls himself up with the leader up through the chimney. So Santa Claus makes it up just fine, but the body that is pulled through the chimney implodes due to the sheer nut-sized capableness of the chimney. So his body explodes as he pulls up through the chimney. It's a pretty unique kill, all things considered. But there is another leader, the traders of the grandma, and their leader comes. But the granny kills him. She just happens to get there. A little bit too convenient, again. The second convenience of this movie. This one just as probably even more so convenient than the convenient thing that happened. But in the process of all that kerfuffling, Santa Claus got shot, so they're trying to burn money to, like, keep him warm and keep him alive. And they all say that they believe in Santa Claus, which gives him just enough magic, quote-unquote, to come back, I guess. And so he thanks everybody, especially Trudy. He gets on his sleigh as the reindeer return with his bag, with an extra bag. And so he flies off, and he does his ho-ho-ho as he has a lot more work to do, as apparently this is one of the earlier places he visited that night. And that was Violent Night. Pretty decent. There were a few conveniences along the way, obviously. Like how he got up to the roof so fast and how the grandma just sort of got to the location to take out this other guy. Those are a little bit too convenient moments. I would say there were certain action scenes primarily in the shed that could have used a little bit better lighting. Because the whole point of that sequence is like, oh, he's doing it in stealth. But I think there's a really solid way you can get some decent lighting in a room like that, despite that. Just for clarification on our end as the audience, but nonetheless, it's not the end-all breaker of this movie necessarily, obviously. I would still say it's quite a bit of fun to see a more action hero-oriented Santa with some nostalgic callbacks to other movies. So yeah, I'll probably give this movie like a 6 out of 10. The 6 coming from the conveniences, and I do feel like some of the characterization is a little bit lazy outside of the main characters, which is Santa Claus himself and Trudy. I feel like everyone else is just sort of, the rest of the family is just not really that interesting. I mean, I guess they have that one moment where they're like deciding who should die, which is, I guess, a little their best moment of the other characters really interacting. Outside of that, though, I don't really see any. There weren't any other highlights of those particular characters, so. And of course, the majority of the bad guys were just sort of generic, outside of the main leader and the one psycho guy and this one female. Outside of those three, yeah, I would say the rest of them are fairly generic, just kill them sort of guards. But, again, I would probably stick with my 6 out of 10. Still pretty decent, has some flaws to point out there. But that is my full review of Violent Night, and if you end up enjoying this full review, then again, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers, second and third to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and the fourth to my Discord server, where you can share your content there and collab with other smaller YouTubers, or, share your content in general for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye!